To kickstart this Hotel Tales What's Your Story Chat series, I am delighted to introduce Mr. Yap Lip Seng, Chief Executive Officer of Malaysian Association of Hotels. Bringing with him a sterling career spanning in the hospitality industry for over 20 years, Mr. Yap is no stranger to the hospitality industry. He started with the Regent Hotel in his early years and has held a number of senior management positions with Genting Malaysia Group before helming the Malaysian Association of Hotels, or we passionately know it as MAH. With his extensive reach and experience in the hospitality and tourism industry, he was appointed as the Industry Advisory Panel for Taylor's University, Berjaya University College, and INTI International University and College. He is also a member of various industry panels for the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture Malaysia, namely the Star Rating Committee, National Spa Council, National Tourism Human Resources Development Council, just to name a few. He also sits on the Advisory Council of the Department of Polytechnic and Community College Education under the Ministry of Higher Education Malaysia. He was appointed by the Human Resources Development Fund (HRDF) as the Chairman for Sectorial Training Committee for Hospitality under the Ministry of Human Resources as an advisory council to HRDF on industry-specific training and development needs. We shall have a chat with Yap to find out the current environment surrounding the hotel industry. Let's find out what is Yap's story. Stay tuned. Hi, we are delighted to have with us, to kick off this Hotel Tales What's Your Story Chat series, Mr. Yap Lip Seng, the CEO of Malaysian Association of Hotels. The hotel industry was one of the hardest hit sectors during this COVID-19 pandemic, mainly due to the restrictions placed on international and domestic travels throughout the Movement Control Order period, or the MCO period. Mr. Yap, welcome to this chat series.
Thank you, Hanley. Thank you for inviting me. Good to be here.
Thank you. Yap, ever since March 2020, the landscape of the hotel industry has changed dramatically. Even though hotels have always been resilient, having gone through many situations of bird flu such as SARS, H1N1, and different financial crises and economic slowdowns, tell us, Yap, is COVID-19 situation any different from the rest of this crisis?
I see two parts in this. On the front end, it seems like the industry is actually quite ready. We know what to do. We have went through the bird flu, we have went to H1N1, we went to MERS, Zika virus and all, but it was quite different at the time. But we are ready in terms of putting up enhanced SOPs, putting up operational changes to adapt to the situation, and it keeps on changing every day actually. That's on the front end. But on the other side, we were caught off guarded with this economic impact. COVID-19 hit us on a scale that it was never seen before. It has pretty much crippled tourism worldwide, halting all movements and brought the industry to its knees. That is a devastating part of COVID-19. The lack of a cure or a vaccine or even a definitive diagnosis of COVID-19 itself makes it almost impossible to predict. And now we are caught in a waiting game with no end in sight. Malaysia is blessed in a sense we still have domestic tourism, but to fall back on domestic tourism is not sustainable. It will not last forever. We still need the international tourism, we still need borders to reopen. The economic impact from all these uncertainties has placed us in the tremendous pressure on the industry, and many have lost their jobs with more to come if the situation doesn't improve. This is an unprecedented event.
True, I think this is, like you correctly say, it's an unprecedented event. What is the current average occupancy, Yap, if you can share with us, nationwide compared to last year? And what are the financial and social impacts on the hospitality industry during this situation?
Okay, we have actually been tracking this since the beginning of the situation. We are currently averaging at about 39.8%. It was about 42 during the Merdeka weekend, and it was 39.40 at averaging at about 39 to 40 because of the weekend holidays over the last 2-3 weekends. But the same period last year, we were at 66.3%. So it was almost half in that sense. Average rates, on the other hand, has gone down by 43% and even as much as 70% lower than the year before on the low periods. Solely on occupancy alone, we know very well that a typical hotel will run into losses with occupancy lower than 40%. When the MCO first started, occupancy rate dipped to 5%. That was 18 March onwards. And then it slowly picked up when the government imposed the compulsory quarantine program at the hotels. And also when domestic tourism restarted in June, we slowly had a pickup of occupancy, but it was mostly concentrated on beaches and island resorts. But during this period, the industry had to make drastic decisions to close temporarily, to lay off employees, or even place them under unpaid leave, and some even on pay cuts. Until now, they're still on pay cuts in order to survive. Otherwise, the hotel would not be able to survive into losses over the last 6 months or so. So this has put people of the industry under tremendous pressure, and it affects their livelihood. Government aids that are given during this period are insufficient, and we are still hoping for more from the government. Even hospitality education was affected, with students dropping out from the programs and parents losing hope in the industry. Back in May, we estimated the loss of the industry of over 2.3 billion. That's only for the first half of the year. And by the year end, we would have lost about 6.3 billion because of the drop in occupancy and rates. Although the situation is slightly better now with the domestic tourism picking up, but we are losing in terms of average rates, and we are maintaining an overall outlook of approximately 25% for the year only, 25.4, 25% for the year of 2020, which is lowest ever in history.
But I also understand that the resorts in many islands are doing pretty well. This is probably due to the domestic travelers that is visiting these places. Do you see that this is going to be very sustainable, or is this just a temporary surge in business for them?
We look at it as a temporary cushion to the current situation, because at the same time, we know domestic tourism cannot spend as much as the international ones. Based on historical data from Tourism Malaysia, a domestic tourist actually spends about 800 ringgit averagely, and international ones spends about 3,000. So the disparity is there. So in order for the hotels or the resorts, even at islands and beaches, to cater to domestic tourism, they have to lower down their rates. And by lowering down the rates means that revenue is affected, their profitability is affected. And we looked at this as only for survival of the current situation. To maintain the hotels to be open, to maintain the resorts to be open, and to maintain the jobs of the employees, this is the only way to go. Even though if the hotels and resorts are not making profits, they will still have to do it in order to keep the hotel or the resort open. It's not sustainable. We don't know this pent-up demand is going to drive until whether the year end or next year. How many times can you travel locally anyway, right? So we need to look at it very closely, and we still need the international borders to open.
Yap, can you tell us what do you reckon is the recovery processes, and how will these new dynamics change the industry norms?
I think we have to look at the recovery from both the policymakers and industry stakeholders. We are in a unprecedented times, and we really need to put the policymakers and the industry stakeholders together. We need to relook into two major components, that is sustaining interest, one, for the international market especially, and to rebuild our domestic demands. Domestic demands, like I mentioned earlier, will not last, so we need to rebuild the demands there. For the international market, destinations with direct connectivity should be given more focus. Places like Penang, Langkawi, Kota Kinabalu, but this is as much as focused to sustain the interest of the international market. These are likely to be the first to receive tourists when borders reopens, and efforts to sustain interest through marketing needs to be in place strategically from now onwards, and we need to spread that across for the next 6 months consistently. The industry must be reminded that it will be a highly contested market when the actual recovery comes. Every country, every destination will want this chunk of the pie. For domestic tourism, on the other hand, locals are confined to limited options at the moment and choices at the moment. So this will be the key point in ensuring consistent domestic demand. Domestic travelers need to be given added motivation to revisit older destinations, not only based on attractions of the destinations, but also experiences and stories it offers to travelers. Strategies can be mapped out to recreate experiences of the same destination with the help of complementing products such as seasonal events and also features of the destination. But overall, I think the important point is that public and the private stakeholders must work closely together and for a more sustainable tourism industry. That is the new and that is the next norm.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Yap, for those comments. I think those are very, very useful. But one question I wanted to ask you is because there's so many hoteliers today who have lost their jobs. What's your advice to these hoteliers? Do you think they should wait for the industry to recover, or do you think they should learn a new skill, explore new job openings in other industry elsewhere? What do you think? Because a lot of them are waiting for what's to come.
That's a very difficult question. As optimistic as we would like to be, we cannot really predict the situation at the moment. Every day, the industry is subjected to external factors beyond the control of the industry. For those out of the jobs, you would have noticed that actually hiring has started again, from hotels reopening to new entries that have actually delayed their launch. This means that there are opportunities in the market, but limited, and again, expectations cannot be the same as before. I was told for one, employers are not able to extend full pays at the moment. For anyone willing to take up the opportunity and the challenge, they are given the opportunity and promised that it will be restored progressively, meaning that they are offered employment at maybe half the pay, but it will be restored back to this normal pay when the situation improves. So that's the opportunity out there. But at the same time, you have to look at outside the hospitality industry. Surprisingly or not surprisingly, there are many other industries that are actually fond of people from our industry, from the hospitality industry, simply because we know how to take care of people. Industries such as banking and finance, or even other service industry, they want people from the hospitality industry because we take care of people well enough to take care of their business. So there are opportunities out there. But on the mid to long term, be rest assured that tourism will return. If you look at the trends over the years, all the disasters and challenges the industry went through, tourism always recovers, and it always recovers stronger and better than before. Look at China, for example. Last year, there was like 165 million travelers going out of China, and that's just a small portion of their population. When the borders reopens, there will be huge and massive pent-up demand, and travel will begin again, tourism will be restored. So there is hope, but we do not know when. But keep your hopes high, they will be back, and there will be opportunities for the people of the hospitality industry.
Thank you for your advice, Yap. I'm sure hoteliers out there who is listening to you will be very encouraged to hear that this is definitely going to come back. And we really hope that this will be sooner than later. I want to thank you, Yap, for participating in this chat series. And I wish you and I wish the hotel industry a quick recovery from this pandemic. We are speaking to Mr. Yap Lip Seng, the CEO of Malaysian Association of Hotels. Thank you, Yap.
Thank you.